Hello again and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Molly, and today I thought it would be fun to take you on a recent antique market trip I went on and share what I brought home with me. I love looking for secondhand finds and I'm always very particular about what I bring home. I've been trying to get better about just bringing home things that I love and finding a place for them. It can be hard. I often pass things up and then I'll leave and think about it for days and I'm like, why didn't I just get it? So I've been trying to shift that mentality, and if I really latch onto something when I'm at the thrift store or the antique market, I try to think beyond like whether I have a place for it in that moment, but think about what it could be used for and work on finding a place eventually. And that has started to change the way that my spaces come to life. I don't want to just like fill my house with stuff. I want things to be intentional, and I'm really in favor of slow design. I am not the type of person to just design a room and be done with it. I love to be inspired and add things over time and move things around to different rooms because I think they might work better there. And I think that's just helped me craft better spaces and spaces that I really love. So that's the hat I wore on this trip. And I did bring a couple of fun things home and a few things that I thought could be fun DIY projects we can work on together. So let's go shopping and I'll show you what I picked up. Every time I see these garden cloches, I want to get them, but I cannot for the life of me figure out what to use them for. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know and I will run back to get them. I'm always looking for small storage solutions, and I loved this corner shelving unit with the dark wood stain, those spindles, and that beautiful detail along the top. I also liked the size and shape of this little brass genie lamp. Anything blue and white always catches my eye, so of course I stopped at this covered dish. Obviously it would be great for serving, but I thought it could be fun to store cookies in too. My family always had English Springer Spaniels growing up, and I started a collection of these little statues. I loved this bronze one, but it was a little pricey. How cool are these time card racks? I thought they could be really fun for a gardener to organize their larger seed packets in, just to keep everything organized. I've seen these hand brooms before and they were a little pricey, but this time they were marked down to $10, and I feel like they'd be perfect for cleaning off a garden bench or an outdoor table. I definitely speed walked over to this gold bamboo frame. I loved the color and the detail on it, and it was only $10. These baskets reminded me of the ones we used in my office reorganization project, but they were $20 each, and I knew we could find a set for less than $20 at Hobby Lobby. I've definitely got spring on the brain, and these flowers caught my eye. I thought the colors were really pretty, and this would make for a fun spring styling piece. I stop at this planter every single time I come here, but it's $99 and I can't decide if it's worth it or not. What do you guys think? Okay, maybe not in this color, but repainted, I think these lockers would make a really cool storage solution out in a garage, in a bonus room, or even in an entryway. Brass is another one of my favorite materials, and I thought this teapot was adorable. I should have gotten it. I think it would have made a really great vase. Speaking of brass, this was a really cool plant stand. It was pretty heavy and I loved the detail on the top, but it was a little pricey at $42. Add this to the list of things I regret not purchasing. I loved that this crock had a lid. The simple design could work with any decor style, and for the size, I thought $28 was really fair. The pattern on this footstool was so striking. I loved the blue and gold. Something like this is a great way to incorporate little pops of pattern into a space. I have never seen measuring cups like this, but I loved that they were tall and they had a handle. The ditzy floral pattern was adorable, but they don't stack. I don't really need any more milk glass, but I loved this milk glass compo. It was a good size, and I thought the fluting detail was pretty. I love a crystal dish, especially a covered one. It's a great way to hide away bits and bobs while still keeping them accessible and easy to clean. I definitely did a double take on this lamp. I loved the brass and the simple lines, but then it had this beautiful finial and these lovely like brass curves by the light bulbs, and it was 20% off. I initially couldn't tell if these were vases or candlesticks. I think they're vases, and I love how tiny they are. This lamp taunts me every time I come here. At $60, it's a little more than I would normally pay, but the base is so beautiful. Speaking of bases, I loved the legs on this mirror-topped iron table. I feel like it could work really well as a little side table or even a plant stand. Mirrors are such a great way to warm up a space and reflect light. You can hang them in a gallery wall or just on their own, and I really liked the wood tone and the gold detail on this one. Then of course I spotted this one, and I loved the carved detail in the frame and these little gold buttons in each corner, but it was a little bit heavy. It took everything in me to not come home with this piece. It was giving like Beauty and the Beast, farmhouse, French country chic. I just don't have a wall to put it on right now. Another perfect French country piece here with these Louis XVI chairs. I especially loved the sage green covering and that cane backing. I don't even think I'd change them at all. I always love going to Milford Market Antiques. It's one of my favorite spots and I always find something there. Prices definitely vary, so it's always a bit of a hunt, but I did end up coming home with a few things, so I'll show you what I got. Okay, first up is this little hand broom. I think I actually saw these and shared them in a previous thrifting vlog, but I didn't get them at the time because I think they were like $17 and I felt like that was a little bit pricey for what it was. But this time when I went, they were all $10 and I thought it would be really nice for the garden bench down in the basement. So whenever I spill soil, I can just kind of like brush it off the bench. And I'm really in favor of purchasing things that are functional, but also pretty. So whenever I have a mess, I have a pretty mess. And I thought this was perfect. I immediately snatched up this $10 gold bamboo frame. It does not have the glass, as you can see, and it doesn't have all of the hardware on the backside. There's a hook at the top so you can hang it, but it doesn't have the clasps to hold the artwork in place. But adding glass and adding those clasps are really easy to do. I haven't decided if I am going to get a piece of glass cut for it yet. Sometimes it's nice to just have art without the glass because it doesn't have a glare. And I do have a plan for this, so I will show you once we get through everything. These I did not get any footage of. I saw them and grabbed them so quickly because the price was so good. For the 3 of them, it was $6, and normally vintage books like this in an antique market are somewhere between like $7 and $10 each. Could be more, could be less. So unless it's a cover that I really like or a title that I connect with, I tend to leave them because it's just really pricey to spend that much on each book for styling. But a stack of 3 for $6 felt really fair. For colors, I usually gravitate toward blues and greens and neutrals, so I loved the stack of the 3 blue, and I've actually been keeping these on my mantle in the dining room with my little ceramic sheep on top like this, so they're fun to style with. After debating back and forth on a couple of different mirrors, I ended up bringing this one home. I loved the dark wood with the gold detail, and the size of it is perfect for our downstairs powder room. We do have a mirror in there right now, but it's just like a generic bathroom mirror and I don't love it, and I've been looking for something that has a little more character, so I think this one will be perfect. Last but certainly not least, I did end up bringing this big old lamp home. I think I walked past this lamp like 3 times and I was just like, should I, shouldn't I? But I just loved this like brass detail and the curves. I really liked that it had 2 light bulbs. I thought this brass finial was really cute and not overly ornate, but it just added a little something. And it already had this really nice brass patina, which I personally like. I don't like when it's like shiny, brand new brass, and I thought this was like a nice sort of aged brass color. The shape of the lampshade is really nice, but the condition of the fabric isn't the greatest. So I thought it would be a fun project to DIY our own pleated lampshade. We can just take off all of this fabric. The frame itself feels like it's in pretty good condition. It's pretty sturdy. So I've seen people do it before, and I've always thought it would be fun to try. I would also love to do it on these lamps I have next to the TV. So if it goes well with this guy, then we can try those too. So that's all for this haul. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hang the mirror in the bathroom. I'll show you the mirror that we currently have and we'll swap those out. I'll show you the art I'm going to use that bamboo frame for. And then I'm going to put this lamp in the living room and see how it looks. Obviously we'll have to upgrade the lampshade at some point, but I currently have a lamp in there that has a really wide base and it just takes up more space and always gets knocked. So this one being more narrow, I think will fit better in the space. So we'll give it a try and see how it looks. We're in the downstairs powder bath, and this is the mirror we currently have. Nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful mirror, but it just feels very generic. And I have a lot of things I want to do in this space, but in the spirit of slow design and trying to just add one thing at a time and let the space inspire me as it comes together, I thought this mirror would fit better and just add a little character. I really love incorporating a wood element whenever I can. You're actually sitting on top of a wood cabinet. I'll show you in a second. And the stain is not the exact same color, but I think that's okay. I'm okay with like mixing colors. I'm not trying to be like matchy-matchy. You can see we kind of have a narrow space to work with here. I want it centered over the sink. We have a switch plate here that, you know, we could cover a tiny bit of, but obviously we need to be able to access the switches. And then we have this shelf here. This was here from the previous owners, and I'm not sure I'll keep it forever, but for now it holds our soap. So whatever I got, I needed to make sure it would fit between those two things. This one is a little bit smaller because it doesn't have like the curves of the oval, but I think it still fits well. It's just a powder bath, so you know, you're just looking at like your face. And I think it just adds a little something to the space that this flat mirror without a frame doesn't have. On the back of this, there's already some picture hanging wire just attached to these two little like eyelet hooks. It is long enough for what we need, but you could easily replace that, or if you got a mirror or something without that, you could just screw in some little hooks and buy a roll of picture wire and add it yourself and just adjust the length as needed. Yay! It looks so good. So there we go. There's obviously a lot going on in this space, so this is the first of many things that will change over time. This is the wood cabinet that I have in this space, so obviously it's not exactly the same color, but I think it kind of ties in nicely with that and just continues to add a little bit of warmth to the space. This is the lamp I want to swap out in the living room. So it's from IKEA. We've had it for years. I still really like it. But as you can see, the base here is a little bit wide. So the space to walk between the sofa and this lamp is actually kind of narrow. And this leg is kind of disconnected right here. So it actually just pops right off if you knock it. And then the whole lamp tips over. So I think it would be better suited in a space that we're not constantly walking by it. So I'm going to move this one up to Matt's office. And then we will replace it with the brass lamp instead. Matt's outside, so her attention is only out the window, and she whines and cries the whole time he's outside because she misses him so much. He's so far away, isn't he? Isn't he? Silly girl. All right, well, I think the lamp works really nicely. Definitely opens up the space here so we can not trip over the leg of the lamp, which is nice. I like the addition of the brass. I think it works well with all of the other like wood elements in the space. Obviously, I'll have to think about color and pattern for the lampshade. I'll see what fabric I have in my stash that might work. Otherwise, we'll have to go on a fabric hunt again, and we know my record for that. Last but not least is our frame. So I'm going to show you the art I'm going to put in this. It was a DIY project that Matt and I worked on with the dogs probably a couple months ago now. I never filmed it because it was so insanely chaotic, but I'll show you the outcome. I have seen a lot of people do this on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, and I thought, what a great idea. We should do that too. How easy. And I should have known that it was going to be far more difficult than the Pinterest tutorials let on. We did one of those paw prints, and you might be able to imagine that it was a little bit messy, especially because we did it inside. We did lay plastic down so that, you know, we could have them walk around and not make a mess of the rugs and stuff, but even that was hard to contain. And then I just put this fabric down on the ground. I painted their paws with, you know, puppy safe paint, and we tried to get them to walk on the fabric. Honestly, that was the hardest part. Like, they were kind of like, why am I walking on this? They would try to avoid it. The prints were a little bit messy, so you can see here it's just more of a smudge. But I think what's special is the fact that I know the dogs made this art. So I thought it would be fun to use this frame to kind of frame out a good section of the prints. There are two different colors. They're very subtle, but one's a slightly lighter blue and one's a slightly darker blue, and I use the different colors to differentiate between the two dogs. But I think we can kind of find a section that has a decent mix of their paw prints and cut that, and then add some hardware to the back, cut like a piece of cardboard to keep it intact, and then hang this in the sitting room. So that's my plan. I need to order some hardware for the frame itself, and I actually have a ton of other frames up in the guest room that I really need to do something with. I need to frame a bunch of art. That is one thing I don't really have on the walls of this house, is art or photos, and I just get really intimidated about hanging. A lot of our walls are wallpapered, and I know there are tricks to hanging things so you don't like ruin the wallpaper, but I don't know, I just get like decision fatigue and I just do nothing. So maybe in a future video we'll work on printing some art, printing some photos, adding hardware to the frames, and getting some art on the walls in this house. But anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed going shopping. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I brought home and my plans for it. truth be told, I don't always have a plan, and sometimes I come home and things sit in a pile until it just speaks to me, and I think that's okay. It's really easy to be influenced by what we see online, and that our houses need to be perfect and our rooms need to be finished, and that's just not the case. I am very much in this period of my life where I'm forging my own path and doing what feels right, and it's okay if your house isn't perfect, okay? I'm giving you permission to design slowly, buy what speaks to you, find the right place for it when the time is right, and move it if you want, or sell it if you want, okay? So hopefully that speaks to you. I know it's taken me a long time to like get on board with that myself. And you know, it's nice to finish a room, but it's hard to find all the right pieces sometimes, and it can be expensive to buy everything at once. So I hope you don't feel pressured to design every space perfectly. Just collect slowly and buy what you love, and your spaces will come to life over time. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, click the bell notification if you want to be notified for future uploads, and share it with a friend if you think it's something they'd like, and I will catch up with you in the next video.